Okay, good morning, gentlemen and ladies. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on your location and where you're watching me from. Today, we're going to take on the second aspect of the Ecovangelism. This is a project we started some months back, and we have been pushing. The first episode of Ecovangelism, we looked at climate change mitigation and the role of bamboo, where we had a speaker from the Institute of Bamboo here in Nigeria spoke extensively. And today we're going to also be looking at another interesting aspect. And before I go there, ladies and gentlemen, I want to just share something about eco-evangelism. Okay, I just hope you can see my screen. Now, eco-evangelism is a project focused on climate action and sustainable living, featuring series of webinars with expert speakers knowledgeable in climate change. Aside that, it encourages other forms of climate actions through engaging presentations and interactive community involvement. Eco-evangelism aims to raise awareness, share actionable insights, and inspire participants to embrace eco-friendly practice for a more sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I beg you, not just by attending this webinar, to join us to learn from the leading voices and make positive environmental impact. I want to play a little clip for us, still relating eco-evangelism. So this clip is just a few seconds clip that summarizes eco-evangelism in a way. So I just hope you can hear. Okay, I think the audio is not audible. Okay, we might play it at the end of the presentation. So let me bring up the presenter for today. Today, our presenter for Eco-Evangelism 1.1 is Comrade Upeli Glory Ani Norma. She is an ecologist, a wildlife photographer, and a documentarian, and an entrepreneur. Glory holds a Bachelor's of Forestry and Wildlife degree from Nnamdi Azikiwe University here in Nigeria, of which she served as Student Union Government President. She is also the Assistant Coordinator of the Southeast South-South Atlas Team, Nigeria, and the Regional Representative of the Nigerian Nigerian Bed Atlas Project. Glory, during her National Youth Service, worked as an intern with the AP Leventis Ornithological Research Institute, Aplori, Jos, Nigeria, where she had opportunity of working and learning more about birds and tree identification. She recently launched her first documentary series on life in conservation this July 2024. The series is centered around people sharing their personal experiences so far as conservationists, just like what we are doing today. Additionally, it might interest you to know that Comrade Glory is the founder of G-Babe Venture brand. Ladies and gentlemen, I now want to bring up our wonderful guests, that is going to talk to us today. Please make welcome Upeli Glory. Glory, please, if you are still on the call, you can unmute yourself and you have the stage. Thank you. Glory, are you there? I cannot hear you. Okay, can anyone hear her? Please, if you can hear her, please just help me type 1 if you can hear her. If you cannot hear her, type 0.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Carry on.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I want to share my screen now. Oh.
Okay, you can click on the slide mode. Yeah.
Okay, can you?
Yes, we can see it now. Carry on.
Okay. Don't my laptop. I don't. Okay. Good morning, Lily. And I'm going to be talking on the climate change should navigate my way. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. Carry on.
I don't know. I'm so sorry. I don't know. My laptop is just messing up this morning.
Okay, can I share your screen from here? Probably you now use your screen for the note, if you don't mind.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Hope everything is okay now.
Yes, everything is fine now.
Okay, good. Okay, good morning, everyone. And I'll be giving a brief talk on this topic, climate change through the lens of biodiversity, a personal exploration. And before I begin, I want to especially thank the whole team of Green Initiative for Humanitarian Aid for this opportunity to present. And I promise to be brief, clear, and precise. Okay, so basically, I'm just going to take you through this outline: climate change, bird diversity, then my experience. So we start. The UN describe climate change as a long-term shift in temperature, and this shift can either be natural through the activities of the sun, volcanic activities, or it can still be man-made. And climate change scientists has proven that human have been the main driver of climate change. And this primarily is as a result of the burning of fuel, such as coal, oil, and gas. And this fossil fuel burning generates green gas emissions that act as a blanket wrapped around the earth, trapping the sun heat and raising the temperature of the climate or of the earth. People think that climate change is just all about warmer weather. Yeah. But the thing is, this is just one aspect of climate change because the earth is like a system. just like our body, the eyes, the nose, the lungs, we are all connected. That's how the earth is all connected. So when something happens to one part of the earth, it affects others, whether positively or negatively. Now, diving into bird diversity just refers to the incredible varieties of birds across the world. Like we have, it's just basically the weavers, the finches, the weavers. Can you still hear me? So let me know if I'm still connected.
Yes, I can hear you. Carry on.
Okay, so this bird diversity just talks about the different species of birds, the finches, the weavers, the doves, the vultures, the eagles. We have different species of birds. And currently in the world, we have over 10,000 living bird species. And these birds are in astonishing ranges of size, colors, shapes, behavior, and above all, they have their own unique ecological roles. Now, due to this continuous climate change, they have been forced to adapt to diverse habitats. They have been forced to migrate to new locations. They have been forced to change their feeding habit. So it just generally, just like the situation where you are forced to change and change and change just so that you can survive. This is what the birds are going through at the moment. Now, birds are very important, minus the fact that they are beautiful, they are unique. They play a very important role, and they are very important bioindicators. And this concept of bioindicator is something that this concept is readily understandable. Birds are both popular and they are often iconic. They often have iconic status throughout the world. Like in the Nigerian coat of arms, we can see the eagle, which represents strength. We even have the black Malawi, all of them, they have a symbol of bird in their means of identification. Iconic and always stand for something positive wherever they appear. Now, though I will tell you more about my field experience, but let me just divert a little. There was one of our outings we went to, and we came across a community. Is actually my community, is Abbey Town in Delta State. And in that town, during February period, there is a festival called the Ukwata Festival. And this festival is usually the opening of the year season, and it's just a very big festival. And in this festival, sought for the permanent vulture. They place the permanent vulture very carefully on a pedestal or on something. I don't know what it's always different every year. And they feed it and they parade it around the community. And then after it, they let the vultures go. And in that community, this bird is very symbolic. This bird is very iconic. You don't hunt this bird. You don't eat this bird. You don't kill this bird. So you see, wherever there are birds, it's always symbolized something very good and positive. Wide fund for nature in 2021, behavior, range, and population dynamics. They noted that some birds are already experiencing strong impacts and from climate change, and these impacts are negative. Now, it was stated that in the future, subject to greenhouse gas emission levels and climate change will put large number of bird species at risk to extinction. With this estimate, we are estimating like 2 to 72% scenario and potential potentials for the birds to shift to change will also affect birds indirect fire emission regimes and migratory birds using the Europe's Mediterranean coastal wetlands, which is a critical habitat for these birds and also a critical migratory route for birds that are migrating from Europe to China, and from Europe to Africa, sorry. So we have this bird migrating from Europe countries to African countries, and they use this route. Now, without adequate precaution, this route could completely be destroyed by 2080, as according to the estimation of World Wide Fund in 2021 report. Now, these changes, in climate change condition also affect birds in their metabolic rates. For example, cold weather require birds to increase their expenditure for their body maintenance. And it also exerts other indirect and direct effects on this bird's behavior. For example, it can influence their foraging condition, their ability to do other essential behaviors such as cutting and what have you. Now, the work done so far. For my undergraduate work, I set out to check the diversity and distribution of birds in Chukwuemeka Odumegu University and Nnamdi Azikiwe University. But for this presentation, I'm just going to be talking about the bird species aspects and COOU, Chukwuemeka Odumegu University, just that aspect, because the other aspect is still in review for public. We want to talk about the study sites. We know that the university is located in Anambra North local government, landmass of about 7. We also know that just like other areas in the southeast, COOU Ibaram campus experiences dry and wet season. And one of the most distinct features of this campus is that it is dominated by farmlands, as at the time this research was being carried out. Now, what were the methods we used in collecting data? The first is we stratified the study site into forests and open space. The second, we selected 5 plots of 100 by 100. We 5 in the forest and in the open, summing up to 10 plots. Now, the research was carried out for 5 days in a week and for 4 weeks. Now, land transects was used to record birds' activities with starting points systematically laid. The birds were identified to species level using a pair of binoculars and a bird of West African field guide. The species composition was analyzed using Shannon-Wieners, diversity, and pluris richness indices. These are our results. Taking a look at this result, we can see that the family Columbidae had the highest sum of frequency in both the forested and the open space. And the family Columbidae is the doves. The doves, the pigeons, they all fall under the family Columbidae. Now, while the family Estridae had the second sum highest frequency in the forested space, and the family Passeridae had the second highest sum frequency only in the open space. Now, we want to talk about the distribution of those birds based on their frequency, like which of them had the highest frequency count. Now, here we can see that the red-eyed dove, remember, the family Columbidae had the highest frequency, and the red-eyed dove fall under this family. And here we are saying this same family, which is the part of the member is the red-eyed dove, they had the highest frequency in the forested space. So moving on, the distribution of species counts. Now we want to see this species now. You know, the first result, let me go back. This first result now is talking about which family has the highest frequency. Like we have the Okafor family, the Undubisi family, which of them had the highest number of children? So we now saw that, oh, Kolumbi, they had the highest number of children. Now, this is talking about these children now, which one is still big? Which one is the highest? Like the red-eyed dove from that family is the highest frequency. This result now is talking about from each family now, which of them have more species? Which of them have more species in each family? And from the result, we saw that Estridae, which are the finches, Estridae, which are the finches, which the finches belong to, had the highest species count of 8 species in the family, both in the forested and in the open area. And we have birds such as the bar-breasted firefinch, the black and white bronze, the black and white manakins, the bronze manakin. These birds fall under the Estridae, the finches. Now we have the Cysticolidae, which is the Cysticolas. Cysticolas belong to, they have the highest species count of 7 species. So let me break this down. We see that, you know, there's a difference between bird diversity and bird richness. Diversity is the species, the number of species in the family. Now, richness is the count, like per head. So it's you join all the species together and you count all of them together. And from our first result, we saw that the Columbidae had the highest species. That means like they have very high number. They have very high number. So their richness, the family in this site, as when we were carrying out this data, it just simply means that the family have high richness. Now, which boils down, which supports the second result of the red-eyed dove. So it is the number of the red-eyed dove that really influenced the family of the Columbidae to have high richness. But when we come now down to diversity of these birds in that area, the Columbidae family is not was not the highest in diversity, but it was the finches, which is the Estrelidae, having 8 species in the family. So they have 8 species in the family, and the Cysticolidae, which are the Cysticolas, have 7 species in their family. And if we now check our results, we'll see that the Columbidae have 5 species and 4 species in the open and forested area, which means they are high in richness, but they are low in diversity. But Estrelidae, they are low in richness, but high in diversity. Basically, that's what the result is talking about. And from this, our study sites, we have in the forested area, we have 1,019 bird counts. And in the open area, we have 965 bird count, and which gives us a total of 1,984 bird count. Now, this is just a summary of the results. We have 1,984 bird distributed in consisting of 73 species distributed among 28 families. Now, we already noted that the Cysticolidae and the Estrelidae had the highest species counts, like they are more diverse. And we also noted that the red-eyed dove have the highest frequency, richness. So, in conclusion, when I was introduced to ornithology in 2019 during a field course training, then my course advisor, Dr. Onyeka, encouraged me to register and attend. Sincerely, my story of ornithology started then, but I was not motivated. I was not interested, or probably I would say I didn't have prior knowledge of what I was going to. when I remember then in the field course, because it's a 1 month field course at Wepa Farm, it was very difficult. The first few days was very difficult for me because I've not had such an intensive field course before. Then I was an undergraduate in 300 level. I was just entering my departmental courses fully. So I barely had knowledge. So it was a difficult situation for me to have adapted to. But I'm grateful that I remained and I motivated myself to finish. And sincerely, that really changed my career path. And it made me understand that this climate change thing, it's a thing of everybody. Yeah, I understood that I needed to do more for my climate. And yes, it is my climate because it is your climate, it's our climate. These things are, those weather are, we can say, this word like it's hanging over our head. The rain will fall on us, the sun will shine on us, the star will shine on us. So it is our climate, it is our collective role to, work for our climate for a better future. Now, during the field course and to date, I've been actively contributing my quota to avian diversity and distribution through my role as a citizen scientist. I'm also the assistant coordinator of the Southeast South Atlas team, which is CESAT. And we, if not for the constant situation of our country currently, usually monthly or quarterly, we go for atlasing around the region, the Southeast, the South region, where we map out bird diversity, bird distribution in all these areas. And we collectively send our data to the Nigerian Bird Atlas project, NIBAB, as a citizen scientist. That is what we do in our own part. Now, remember when I stated earlier that birds are bioindicators. I want to also give you a story of another experience in the field. So, doing one of our outings again at CESAT, just like the first time I said, we witnessed a very interesting festival where they worship this bird, they take this bird around town, everybody dance and everybody's happy. Now, we stumbled upon an area in Delta State, and that area have massive oil bunkers and oil spillage. That day, throughout the Atlas, now talking about even the Atlas, we go out here, I've said it, we go out to Atlas, take birds, we map out our areas via pentards. So there are a lot of scientific words to put there, but we can go to 3 to 4 regions, zones like pentards a day. And in each pentard, we spend 2 hours as the methodology of us carrying the data. Now, that day, that pentard that had that massive oil spillage and a lot of bunkers, that was the lowest, we encountered the lowest bird diversity and richness there. Like they had the poorest result. So it just shows that even those birds are very intelligent. They know regions and areas that are healthy for their own habitat. Because just imagine those spillage, you can talk about the water would be bad, the things you plant on the soil would be bad, the air would be bad. So these birds know not to even stay in this region. So if these birds are scared to even stay there, how more is this safe for us humans? So they are excellent bioindicators. Now, this only shows how unhealthy that environment is. Everything is contaminated, and basically that environment is dangerous for humans. But then, we are very careless. Even the birds are more careful than us. So what I recommend, community service. Basically, this was removed from the data I just presented, but when I carried out the research with the 2 campuses, because I was trying to compare the richness and the diversity of the birds in both campuses, I noticed And according to the result presented, comparing both campuses, we discovered that even in the other campus, the Nnamdi Azikiwe University had more bird diversity and richness. And funny enough, they had more tree diversity and richness. So this basically tells us that the trees are important. They're important to the bird, they're important to the climate. But we have so much indiscriminatory cutting. We do not actually care enough for the environment. So for us to effectively contribute to the positive change in our climate, which will benefit both the birds, humans, we have to take part in tree planting. Tree planting is one of the major activities that can positively influence this climate change. We have to stop indiscriminate cutting of trees. We have to teach the younger ones to care for our environment by planting trees, stop the littering of plastics. There's a lot we can do. And this is a job for all of us. So let us go out there and preach climate change. Let there be a massive eco-evangelism. Thank you. And before I conclude, I want to acknowledge the following organizations. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Glory, for that wonderful presentation. You can stop sharing your slide now. Sincerely speaking, I'm actually inspired by your presentation. And though I've taken a lot of things, I've jotted a lot of points. But before I move further, I want to actually acknowledge somebody who has been in support of almost everything I do academically and professionally. The person of Professor Nkiru T. Melodu. She always joins all our webinars, despite the gap in terms of professionalism, age, qualification, and so on. But she don't know how her being around some of these programs have actually boosted morale. Thank you, Prof. She is the immediate past dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, Nnamdi Azikiwe, where I do my primary duties. So thank you. Before we go into question and answer session, there's a video I wanted to share with us earlier. That video will also help us understand what we're doing then. Of course, we'll now move to question and answer session. So just sit tight and watch this video. Thank you.
What if saving the planet was as simple as spreading the word? Let's dive into eco-evangelism. Eco-evangelism is more than just a buzzword. It's about sharing eco-friendly habits and inspiring others to do the same. From ditching plastic straws to starting community gardens, every little bit counts. Think of it like a ripple effect. One person takes action, then another, and before you know it, there's a wave of positive change. It's about making sustainability cool and showing that anyone can make a difference. So next time you recycle or bike instead of drive, share your story. Be an eco-evangelist, because together we can change the world, one eco-friendly action at a time. Let's make this planet greener, cleaner, and better for everyone. Join the movement. Be the change.
Okay, welcome back. Now, it is the time for question and answers. So let's take questions and answers now. If you have question, you can just raise your hand. Okay, thank you. We have Professor Melodu. You can now unmute yourself, Prof, for your question or contribution. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you, Dr. Onyeka, for what you're doing to make the issue of climate change to be felt in every area of life by everyone. You are doing very well.
Thank you, Prof.
And the name you coined to this is a very good one. because that is the in thing for now. We need to understand our environment. We need to feel what is going on in our environment. Also want to appreciate our speaker, although I was finding it a little bit difficult to enter early, and so I couldn't get all what she said. But the aspect that I listened to, I could hear her say that this is for everyone to be concerned about. This is for everyone to notice what is happening, because it's real and it's happening. And we need to take appropriate action. Where we cannot do anything, we need to make noise about it. Get our government involved, get NGOs involved, just like what you're doing now. Speak out, and things will go on well in our environment. There are little things we can do in terms of not cutting trees, at random. In fact, some universities take it very serious. You have to pay a fine when you do that. And then taking care of refuse, because when they block the what do you call it, the channels, then it becomes a problem. And also the kind of practices we undergo, in terms of agriculture also, we need to readdress some of them. So thank you very much. It's just to encourage you youths, the Gen Zs, you're doing wonderfully. And keep on doing what you know how to do best. I'm just encouraging you people. It's unfortunate that many people are not joining this kind of programs. I don't know why. And the advert was done. Please encourage your Gen Zs, people in your care, because they need it more. We are leaving the environment for them to manage, and they have all it takes. They can do better than us. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you, Prof, for that encouragement and also insight. Thank you. Just like Prof said, it's a duty for everybody. And of course, we, the younger generation, have more to do because the older generation are already winding down. It is our responsibility to take the bull by the horn. And of course, that was why this particular project, Ecovangelism, is more of a personal project aside the NGO I founded. I would like, apart from that, we should take some things personal. Okay, and I'm taking this personal to go to the nook and crannies of my environment to talk about this. So if you have question for the speaker, for our guests, if you have question or areas you need clarification, or even if it's not directly linked to her presentation, I believe we have so many people on this call that can throw more light to what we are doing. Please, if you do, just raise your hand and ask your question. But while we're waiting for others to ask, I want to ask our speaker some questions. The first is, what's your motivation? Okay, you talked about your first motivation being that you are encouraged by your supervisor or advisor to take a field course in ornithology. Now, after that, we discovered that you went ahead to probably to serve and work as an intern in one of the leading ornithological institutes, if not the only in Nigeria. And you've also been doing something in that regard. So what's the thing that is keeping you going? What's actually your motivation after the initial one? Because it takes a motivation to start, and it takes a motivation to sustain. So please, can you respond to that? Then you can also take the second question. You keep mentioning citizen scientists. What does it take somebody to become a citizen scientist with regards to birds? So are you there? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Motivation is a very it's most of the time motivations are personal. Like when I went to the field course, and the first few days, it's a very funny story. Due to the fact that I've never experienced field course before, then I went from zero experience to intensive experience. So I have to be up by 5 because the helix leaves by 6. So if the helix leaves before you, you have to pursue the helix and catch up with the helix halfway. Like they will purposely like keep driving and keep driving. So you just be exhausted. So the first few days, when I wanted to quit, I'm like, Glory, you're not a quitter now. No forehand. You don't want to fall your hand now. You're not a quitter. That was my first motivation. You're not a quitter. Now, the first week passed, and the second week passed, and I started getting the glimpse of these things. I started knowing these birds by their sight, by their call, and I was like, this is very interesting. Now, the second motivation was doing something unique, doing something many people are not doing something that people do not just wake up in the morning and do. That is uniqueness, another motivation. I'm going to do something very unique. The third motivation is I'm impacting the climate. So I'm not just working for myself. I am working for the good of my climate, which means I'm working for the good of others. Selflessness, another motivation. So it goes on and on and on and on. For every step and every issue I encounter, I have one thing to motivate myself. So like last month, I launched Life in Conservation documentary series. And I've had this in my mind for almost a year. And every day I'll be like, I'll do it tomorrow. The next day I'll do it tomorrow. The next day I'll do it tomorrow. One morning I just woke up and I just sent a broadcast message to 2 of my potential people that I want to come and talk on the documentary. And immediately they gave me that reply. I have committed myself. I ensured I committed myself, and I got the motivation from their response. Oh, this is a lovely idea. Oh, this is amazing. That is another motivation. Doing something that will not only impact and put to my personal good, but also impact others. Now, these stories are going to be coming out week after week, and these stories there are things that are greater than myself. There are things that are greater than even the ones telling these stories. These are people's life. And these are things that we watch and you get inspired. Oh, you can do this. Oh, you can do this. You understand? This is another motivation, doing something, a greater cause far above yours. Now, how do you become a citizen science? It's very easy. Do you know citizen science concept, just like it is the word states, just normal people doing science. If I am planting trees, 1 tree every month, I am a citizen science. If I go out to the field and I know, oh, this is a red I do, I note it down, I submit the data. Oh, this is this, I note it down, I submit the data. I'm sending the data to people that will use this data to analyze this environment and do something far greater than myself. I am a citizen scientist. So it's just basically humans, normal people doing science without formal education about it. I hope I've been able to answer you.
Thank you for that insight. Yeah, I intentionally asked the question and also expected you to let people know as regards to bird. We have so many bird clubs all over the country, and people can actually join to become citizen scientists, in any bird club close to them. Like in Anambra here, we have the Oka Bird Club that is domiciled in Department of Forestry and Wildlife, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. You can come around, and being a citizen scientist, you mustn't have prior knowledge about that thing. So meaning that you can, just like she said, she started when she just finished her 200 level, and the way programs are designed in the Faculty of Agri, it's in your 300 level, you start going closer to your department. So she knew little or nothing about bird when she started, but being a citizen scientist at that time helped her. And of course, with her first degree in forestry and wildlife, she's no more a citizen scientist because she now have reasonable knowledge and of course a scientist and a certificate to back what she's doing. So another question, you mentioned briefly while you were talking that in the two places you compared, that is the Nnamdi Azikiwe University and the Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, that you mentioned briefly that Nnamdi Azikiwe University had more diversity in terms of birds and trees than the other university. Looking also, because I know these two universities, the state university, that is COOU, seem to be in a remote area, not densely populated than Nnamdi Azikiwe University, UNIZIK, that is in the metropolis, Oka metropolis, with houses surrounding them and so on and so forth. What could inform that striking result? Because one could assume that since COOU is in a more remote area that don't have dense population in terms of infrastructural development and so on, that it could be more, it could have more bird and tree probably diversity than UNIZIK that is in the state capital and is in the heart of the metropolis. So do you have any response on that?
Okay, just like when we are carrying out research, we always come up with hypotheses. We already hypothesized that this will be more, this will be less. But when we go out to the field, we always see something different. Now, it is always very natural to assume that the COOU, we have more diversity because of the area. But we should also understand that management of a place matters a lot. Now, irrespective of the fact that we selected the school based on government owned, we were expecting that the management can be almost equal, but it wasn't. As at the time we were taking our data, the campus was having lots of construction going on. And this thing is already an anthropogenic disturbance. That's one. It's an anthropogenic disturbance, the construction. Two, there were few species, indigenous species of trees. There were more exotic species. I don't have my data, I would have been able to list some, but there were more exotic species than indigenous species compared to UNIZIK. UNIZIK had lots and lots of indigenous species. And in UNIZIK landscape, we have a portion of that landscape that have been left to be a primary forest. Like there's a restriction of no constructions towards this area. As at the time I was taking this data, I don't know the situation of that forest now. So there are lots of patches in the UNIZIK campus, the Oka campus, that had primary forests. Like these forests are indigenous trees, basically. And these trees are usually, they encourage bird richness, they encourage bird diversity. But in the Igbariam campus, the COU, I can't remember seeing any patch of the landscape that was just left as a forest. So there were lots of farmlands, people just go in, they cut trees. In fact, there were it was even difficult mapping out the forested area in the Ibadan campus because they were just mostly dominated by farmlands as at when the research was going on. So I think this is what actually brought about the result of UNIZIK having more in tree and bird diversity and even in richness. And all this boils down to management. And this management is not a higher power. This management is me and you. Me and you. That is this management. It's a job for me and you. Knowing how to take the trees that are important to keep, the trees that are important to leave, just leave. Look for somewhere else. There are lots of spaces you can erect your construction if this tree is important to you enough. And this management is all of us. So we have to, I feel, according to my recommendation, I recommended that the management should really take a look into that and really try to play active role in introducing indigenous trees into their landscape. Yeah, that is it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that wonderful explanation. Okay, so that means the landscape really contributed to the differences in the result and of course the management of that particular forest. So you encourage that schools can lead by example by planting more trees. Okay, no wonder recently the new vice chancellor of that university, I think, planted 10,000 trees in collaboration with the Anambra state government. So probably we believe that things will change. So do we have further questions? Because we actually aimed to end this session by 11, but because we started a little bit late. So do we have further questions or queries? Yeah, I used to also wonder that before now, whenever you are slaughtering animal, you find vultures roaming around that place. Even in the Bible, you hear words like where the carcass are, there the eagles will be, or where there the vultures will be. But recently, you find out that when you are slaughtering animal, even when you go to abattoirs, you rarely see vultures. Our speaker or anybody who is knowledgeable about this within the call, could this be linked to climate change? Could the disappearance of these vultures, could it be linked to climate? Because vultures are also birds, okay? Special birds. Could this be linked to climate change? If not, then what? Because I can't even imagine, I can't remember any town within Nigeria that consume vultures as meal, as source of protein. Okay, so I don't know, could this be linked to climate change? If not climate change, then what? Because I don't know if the same thing happening here is happening in your location. So if the same thing is happening in your location, one, you can also unmute and say, yeah, the same thing is happening. Then if it's linked to climate change, of course, let's have a take home today. And probably if there is need for advocacy for that, people could start up something from this. We believe in eco-evangelism that little action from everybody can lead to a very big impact. So in your location, okay, carry on.
So the thing is, vultures are very special birds. Apart from being the bioindicators, they also help carcass. Now, one of the issues of bird that it's also a climate change issue but it's also the perception issue in Nigeria. Yes, they don't eat vultures, but a lot of people hunt and kill vultures for spiritual use. Now, there have been research where they trade these vulture parts. In fact, if not even in Nigeria, they export it to other African countries where they use it for medicine of different kinds. So the problem of vultures, we have one of the critically endangered vulture, the hooded vulture, critically endangered according to IUCN, and it's a very big issue, and a lot of conservation organizations are really trying to put together the real cause. But there's one major known fact is the perception. So people in Nigeria, most especially, they see vultures as an evil bird. So unlike every other bird that have iconic symbol, the eagles, the doves, vulture have not been able to have any iconic symbol apart from this community in Delta State that I talked about. So most of the time is because they are being hunted, rapidly hunted. And it's not just about being hunted for eating, it's for exploiting their body parts. So there's a difference when someone is hunting you to chop, and there's a difference when they are hunting you just to use your head, your feather, your this. So I think that is one of the major drivers of the decrease in the richness. And it's also a very big issue that a lot of conservation organizations are looking into. And this also is a climate change problem, because now vultures tend to nest in a very high trees. So, and we know that indigenous trees have the tendency of reaching major heights, unlike exotic trees. So now, where the vultures do not have trees high enough to make their nest, they leave the area. And this also boils down to the cutting of these trees. You just see people cut down trees for firewood, for a lot of things. You are cutting, you are not planting back. So you are destroying their home. They have to move. They have to move. So I feel they are going more into regions where we can't see them much. But I think it's also something that is a global concern.
Okay. Can we have confirmation from others that this problem is also, they don't also see vultures frequently around their area? Please, if you can unmute yourself if in your area you don't see vultures. Okay, I can see Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you can unmute yourself and talk to us.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Okay, you can hear clear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I love the question you asked about concerning vultures. Actually, I would say, the seasons we find ourselves, like the rainy season, the dry season, also affect migration of birds. They also affect migration of birds. Like for instance, now vultures are common in my own area in Cross River State. But we discovered that during the rainy seasons, their population is always in a decrease. Unlike can you hear me?
Yes, carry on.
Okay. Unlike the dry season, the population is always at the increase side. In the rainy season, the population is always at the decrease size. So I think weather, climate is one of those things that affect migration of birds. Example of this vulture. So like example of another, let me deviate a little, like this cattle egret. You see them mostly, they are almost much in the dry season compared to the rainy season. So seasonality or the weather is one of those things affecting such species of wildlife. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel. for that wonderful explanation. It's well noted. Okay, do we have Prof? I can see your hand raised. You can actually unmute yourself. Just a second. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. It's very interesting. This issue of bed, I have not really taken time to watch the trend in vulture, appearing and disappearing. But like the second to the last person that spoke, what the climate, the result of climate change is about the heat, heat that affects the habitat of where these birds, live, just like she explained. So if the temperature is not good enough, they will not survive and they will leave. And then the issue of fire, this wildfire, sometimes, even in dry season, makes them also affect them in their habitats. So that could also be a reason for that. But I think that this calls for research, your question should be turned into research question and then have a title from it, and someone can work on it to determine actually what the situation is right now. I have not really considered that, to watch the vulture as they move. So it's either that the habitat, is not conducive enough for them to stay again because of the climate change, the heat in the atmosphere, or the aspect of killing, which is not in every area, like in our area here, they don't kill that as much. So it's like a taboo when you kill that, a vulture. But at the same time, we find out that the vultures I don't think they fly like some other birds, because you know what happens by January or from December to almost to March, you will see that birds migrate a lot, especially in the temperate region. They come to down here, down, and where the temperature is favorable for them. And then they migrate again back when the temperature of the place they are coming from, it's okay, it's suitable for them to survive. So, but I don't know how far vulture can move in terms of that. So maybe that limitation will also affect them. So there is no way they can move too far away to other countries and then come back again. So we need to consider this in research. And so you have to now see who does the research and what will come out of it. It will be interesting for us to know. Thank you very much.
Yes, Prof, what you're saying, research in vultures have so many funding opportunities, because they're actually going to extinction. According to IUCN, I think they are within the category of extinction. So if some of these questions is also to spur people into areas they can actually look at as research areas. Okay, Nelly, I'm coming, just a second. Just a second. You can now unmute yourself, Nelly.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Just give me a second, please, before you
Okay.
start talking. I want to record this, your response especially. Okay. Okay, you can start. You can start.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So, in addition to what the guest speaker Gloria said, and Mr. Emmanuel, and also Prof, I also think that another reason why there is a decline in vulture populations, or why we don't see them hovering over carcasses, as you asked, as you posed the question, I think it could be because of changes in carcass disposal. I think in the past, carcasses of dead animals, they might have been left in open areas. So it would have provided food for those vultures that we see that time. But now, those carcasses are disposed of more quickly in a way that the vultures cannot access them. For example, the practice of incineration is one way those carcasses are disposed of. So before the vultures can, access food to eat, access dead meat, they've been disposed of already. I also think the issue of competition and food scarcity is another reason why we don't, see the vultures as we do before. And Glory mentioned earlier that the vultures are rare birds, which is true. So competition and food scarcity. For example, in some areas, scavengers like dogs and feral animals, they might reach those carcasses before the vultures. So it will reduce the availability of food for them. So that is my little addition. Because she also mentioned climate change, and decline in vulture population. So I also think changes in carcass disposal practices and also competition and food scarcity might have affected these vulture populations.
Okay, Nelly, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. I also want to say a little about it. I want to tell us how important vultures are and how research have linked them to health issues. Vultures are special birds that have a configuration within their system to digest harmful things that deteriorate in the environment, okay, into a more friendly things within the environment. For instance, before now, carcass they are very sensitive than other scavengers like dogs and so on and so forth. As soon as an animal drops dead, before now, carcass will have like a signal, okay? As soon as you are slaughtering, carcass have signal as if God know how he did that. And these animals take in these harmful substances, these things that deteriorate in the environment to cause air pollution and stuff like that, take it in, digest it, and bring it out as excretes that are not harmful. So probably because of these things that we don't see these days, probably it could be linked to some of these diseases that are rampant within our environment. So it is also a call for people to take up researches, and of course, I promise you there are so many funding agencies that will be eager to fund researches like this. So before, we are now trying to draw curtain to today's presentation, but before we leave, I want to also play another video that inspired this eco-evangelism. Okay, so please, I will play the video that inspired this eco-evangelism. This video is from a professor, a well-known activist, political and social activist, Professor Wangari Maathai, okay, about the hummingbirds. So since we're talking about birds today, so let's listen, let's watch this video and get the message behind the video. So it is just a 2-minute video. So please watch with me. Sorry. Let me get the audio.
We are constantly being bombarded by problems that we face, and sometimes we can get completely overwhelmed. The story of the hummingbird is about this huge forest being consumed by a fire. All the animals in the forest come out and they are transfixed as they watch the forest burning, and they feel very overwhelmed, very powerless, except this little hummingbird. It says, I'm going to do something about the fire. So it flies to the nearest stream, takes a drop of water, and puts it on the fire and goes up and down, up and down, up and down, as fast as it can. In the meantime, all the other animals, much bigger animals like the elephant with a big trunk, could bring much more water. They are standing there helpless, and they are saying to the hummingbird, what do you think you can do? You're too little. This fire is too big. Your wings are too little. And you're big, so small. You can only bring a small drop of water at a time. But as they continue to discourage it, it turns to them without wasting any time and tells them, I'm doing the best I can. And that to me is what all of us should do. We should always feel like a hummingbird. I may feel insignificant, but I certainly don't want to be like the animals watching as the planet goes down the drain. I will be a hummingbird. I will do the best I can.
Okay, gentlemen and ladies, I will be wrapping up with this story about this particular course, Ecovangelism, a journey of purpose inspired by hummingbirds. So a few months ago, I started something called Ecovangelism. It is not a big formal project, but it's not a big formal project, but more of personal mission. The inspiration came from the story told by Professor Wangari Maathai about a tiny hummingbird. In the face of huge forest fire, all the animals stood freeze, overwhelmed by flames. But the hummingbird did not hesitate. It flew back and forth, carrying drops of water in its beak, trying to put out the fire. When other animals questioned its effort, the hummingbird replied, I am doing the best I can. Ecovangelism is my way of being that hummingbird. I know the environmental challenges we face are massive, and my action might seem small, but like the hummingbird, I'm doing what I can, believing that even the smallest effort matters. Through Ecovangelism, I hope to inspire others to do the same. We may not put out the fire alone, but together, our drops of water can make the real difference. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time with us. Okay, so at this point, if you don't mind, I want everybody to turn on hit our video for a group photograph, just for a group photograph. Okay, if you don't mind, just turn on your videos. Let's have a group photograph. Okay, just a second.
Just get my face.
Okay, just a second. I'm trying to. Okay, I am going again. Okay. Thank you very much. Please, at this point, we will call this webinar a wrap. And thank you for taking out time for your busy schedules. Today is Monday, and I know so many people had things to do, but you taking out time from a busy schedule means that you're actually passionate about the environment, about climate change. And I pray that we'll keep the zeal burning. I will pause the video now. I will stop the video now, marking the end of the webinar.